This is Show versus Business, where pop culture meets pop money with your host, the real Theo Harvey, and Mr. Benja. So, Mr. Benja, what's going on?
Oh man, it's been a wild week. Last week was a little quiet. This week was a little more cha going on the internet. I just had to put my phone down because I saw Kanye West decided to drop another explicit kind of Instagram not safe for work set of pictures. I don't know what's going on, but that's minor. We're not going to talk about it. But yeah, there's a lot going on, man. AI is doing things, co-pilots all up in your business. That's Microsoft's new name for its action. We can't call it Bing GPT anymore. We got Alex Hormozi running around doing things. Talked about him a little bit before, but now we have some thoughts and ideas on where he's going with things. We both saw Echo, and there's news on She-Hulk, so we may have some Marvel updates. And we want to know, is Echo good or bad? Things are going on in the streaming world. Amazon's doing its thing. We've got X slash Twitter slash Elon Musk going crazy as usual, and he's bringing Mr.Beast along into his craziness, so that's why we're concerned about it. Snapchat's doing its thing, YouTube videos, Sports Illustrated. I don't know if we're gonna get to all this, but yeah, lots been going on, man. And the Emmys even came around. I saw a pregnant lady in a great Emmys dress, so I was actually cool with that. I was like, "Hey, look at that. It's a nice Emmys dress." But anyway, random, right? A lot of stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely, Mr. Benja. Mr. Benja, before we get started, we always go into a little personal and about our weeks and all that. Mr. Benja, do you do anything special as we're recording this? Martin Luther King Day was on Monday. Do you do anything special for that day?
I don't do anything externally special. Like I know some people go out to events and some people sit down and read letter from a Birmingham jail or something. I take these moments to get a little education and jump on the internet and flame people sometimes. Not too hot. I don't get too spicy with people on the internet. I don't do that.
Man.
But no, this year I didn't do anything. I actually decided to post a podcast on Tuesday about the creativity of MLK, but aside from that, I didn't really do anything. Just educated
Gotcha.
myself.
Yeah, same here, Mr. Benja. Obviously, I have kids and I want to know more about what happened literally in our parents' lifetimes. And some of listeners who are parents, they know they lived through this experience of the civil rights movement. But like you, man, I just listened to the I Have a Dream speech with the kids. And then I just went down a rabbit hole of listening to a lot of the old MLK movies. I saw the Boycott, Jeffrey Wright movie where he portrayed MLK. Great movie, man. Great movie. And it was basically about him starting his journey to become Martin Luther King when he had to go do the Montgomery bus boycott. And I was fascinated. Just you get more insights every time you watch it, but just how he thought about negotiation and just, hey, we have to give a little. If we don't, they're gonna come back even harder on us. And just the insight that you glean from just a kind of a TV show. And it was amazing of how much insight that went into that TV show, that movie, and really insightful information I got from that. And then I fast forwarded to see Selma, which was the big Hollywood produced movie by Ava DuVernay. And that was big at the time and played by a different Martin Luther King, David Ayelowo. And they're very interesting. He was a little bit more sedated role than Jeffrey Wright, but very soulful and that's one, just a little bit more weary as someone who's seen a lot, been through a lot,
Mhm.
and just seen a lot of death. And it was just interesting. Now, trivia, did you know the same actress played Coretta Scott King in both versions?
I was I was about to ask why you said it that way when you said a different actor, and I was like, "Of course it's a different actor," but okay, now I see where that's coming in at. No, that's interesting.
Yeah, man. I'm not gonna say it right, her name right, but Carmen Ejego, I think that's how you pronounce it. She played the young Coretta Scott King. And a very beautiful lady, but and then also the older version, Coretta Scott King, and it's amazing. I was like, probably because she does look like her a lot, but it was amazing that they got a movie that I think the first movie Boycott came out in 2000, and the last movie, the Selma came out what 2014, I think it was. A lot of great people in it too, man. You would Lakeith Stanfield, who's big time now. Jeremy Strong, who was in Succession. He played a small little pivotal role in
Mhm.
Selma. So it's interesting to see all these guys doing big things now. But to your point, I just educated myself, then went down the rabbit hole of Eyes on the Prize and okay, the Montgomery bus boycott started here, but why did this happen? And then when did it get to this? And when did the Freedom Riders start? And then how did it snick? Then you start going down this rabbit hole. And you just, man, this was very thoughtful, but it wasn't like a military battle where you had guns and all that, but they were very thoughtful in how they had attacked different aspects of Jim Crow in the 50s and the 60s. And definitely was a playbook on how you basically force change in whatever environment you are. So all the kudos that Martin Luther
Yeah.
King gets, I know sometimes there's some backlash somewhat against some of it that he was too passive and he could have done more. But when you dig into the history, I think, man, he just pretty much for 10 years, he just gave his life to a cause. And he started when he was only 26.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show you just like the dedication that he went into it. So yeah, so I was very, yeah, like you, just educated myself and was just really impressed.
Man, a lot of people have this watered down version of Dr. King, and I actually attribute a lot of that to the movies and stuff too, where they have him sitting around on a couch. We come together and like, man, come on now. This dude was putting pressure on people. You got the president like biting his fingernails and wondering what's going on. You got congressmen and chiefs of police and everybody just like pressure. Dude was putting pressure on people. And he was like, hey, listen, in fact, fighting for the sanitation workers when
Mhm.
he was going to put some more pressure on some people, and they were like, "We're not having this," and yeah, and that was the end of his movement right there. Well, his life, not his movement. That was
Yeah.
the end of his life right there, and not just him, his mother and his brother, I believe. I don't know if anybody else outside of his immediate family were directly affected in his assassination, but yeah, it was, like, serious. Dude's putting this much pressure on that many people, and I think the way a lot of people present him as this kumbaya figure, and kumbaya figures don't have people shook like that. So
He just knew media, both
mhm,
Selma and Boycott hinted at that. It had to be a nonviolent movement, right? Because if it
yeah,
wasn't, if you had the Malcolm X way or even the Black Panthers, obviously with the guns and forceful, number one, we're minorities. You would not succumb to the
yeah,
government, no matter how many guns you had. They said in the movie, they just have more guns, brother. You may get one or two, but they always have more guns. And number two, so you couldn't win just logically. And number two, you had to change people's hearts. That was the only way you're going to force change. People think it's logic that changes people's minds. It's really hard. And so by having these images of people getting beat for doing nothing, just standing
yeah,
there, and or hoses put on them or dogs chasing them down, that he changed the hearts of America when they saw this on the TV screens. And they said, we have to do something. This is ridiculous. This is America. And so that almost we had that moment briefly was with George Floyd, right? We saw an image that just changed us so radically that you had outpouring of folks during 2020 when there was time things were a little slowed down, people could pay attention, then they started to change people's hearts and you saw a lot of giving to black causes. So unfortunately some of that got rolled back, but with the attack on DEI, diversity initiatives. But needless to say, Martin Luther King initiated that, just that, hey, building empathy into people with love. And that's a powerful thing. So to your point, he wasn't just kumbaya, he was strategically using the tools of love and empathy to change people's minds and hearts.
definitely, definitely. And yeah, man, shout out to the legacy of King and all I've learned from him and all he's done for the whole movement. So, yeah, I don't like to frame it in terms of a never-ending battle, but it's a constant push for not just his ideals, but because you brought up Malcolm X, many of other characters. I was about to start a random list going off Marcus Garvey and a bunch of other people's
Mhm.
Medgrevers, et cetera. But nevertheless, Martin Luther King was that figure that was out there and see him as the main figure, putting out that humanitarian aspect, just not even and I think that that's one of the keys. He was a humanitarian, not a nationalist, and I think that's what got rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. So, anyway,
Deep. That's deep. Yeah.
yeah,
Good point.
yeah, as I said, I ran a podcast on it, so I was
I did sleep and Holiday Inn, right? You read that commercial.
I was
So I'm very, very insightful about this.
yeah, my insightful flames coming out.
Ding.
But yeah, maybe that had something to do with calling people out, that the calling people out that's been going on, or why I've been thinking about it. Because I don't know, this week I've just been going around the internet looking at people's thoughts and everything. And we know Katt Williams, we talked about him earlier. He started out the year just calling people out and going dropping firebombs on people. And I looked around and I was like, wait a minute, the business bully on Instagram is suddenly showing up on his Instagram just bombing on Grant Cardone and a bunch of other people. I'm like, okay, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's one of those guys on the level of Nehemiah Davis, David Shands from
Mhm.
Social Proof. He's not as big as the EYL guys, but he's affiliated with them too. He's going off on people, and your boy Stephen A. Smith was going off on people. I
In the
don't know if
sports
this,
world, yeah, in the
yeah,
sports world, yep.
and it's what's going on? Are people okay, man? Why is everybody doing this? You got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, yeah. It's I don't know, man. I think it's just like always. This is the story of America, man. As we get older, just in general, there's always the big blow up and there's always the letdown. And so it's kind of like I think this is what's happening. We had this big push. It was the rah 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 of the pandemic sucked, but then out of the pandemic, the explosion of gurus and internet marketing and people making money just putting YouTube videos out there and you had NFTs and you had Bitcoin. And you just like, oh man, there's so much opportunity. I'm just going crazy. Now people are kind of clawing that back and say, wait a minute, hold up. A lot of this was BS. So let's call what it is. And then Cat Williams, we talked about it, has opened this up, and we'll talk about later about this authentic kind of communication style that's forming on YouTube. Not a lot of quick edits, just people talking straight to the camera and giving the real deal Holyfield. And so I think that's what we're starting to see, man. I feel it myself too. I'm gravitating to stuff that's just more genuine and not flashy cuts and all that. I think that's it's a backlash. The backlash
Yeah, yeah.
always comes after the the the, the explosion of newness. And so I think that's what we're experiencing. What about you, Mr. Benja? What do you think is happening?
This takes me back to, let's see if you remember this title. This takes me back to 15 Million Merits.
Yes, I do. I do.
Okay, you remember it. Cool,
Here,
cool.
Black Mirror. Yeah.
Yeah, it was an episode of Black Mirror, and this whole calling people out, it's starting to get like they're starting to package it up and wrap it in a bow, and yeah, I call people out. I'm authentic. That's my brand. It's really? Did you just do that? Did you just do that? So, for those of you who haven't seen it, definitely go check out Black Mirror episode 2. You don't need to watch them in order. Awesome episode, but that whole idea of packaging up people's emotions like this, and I don't know, it just seems like it's about to be a trend. Maybe we should call.
Oh, so you say the authentic calling your people out is starting to get wrapped and packaged up like everything else. Is that what you're saying?
Hey, man, I'm about to call some people out and it'll just be like, "Alright, whatever."
I'm gonna call people out. Know that I'm friends with that Mr. Benja. Let me tell you, you talk about creative. Just no.
Hit me off the
Nah,
bottle.
man. That's America, man. Anything that's not nailed down, they will figure a way to sell it to you.
It's not nailed down. Hey, you ever try to pick up something that's nailed down? That's a funny
Oh,
feeling.
yeah.
It's weird. You just run across something, try to pick it up. "Hey, what the" "Oh, it's nailed down. I'm not supposed to touch that."
It's called America for a reason, man. I
Yeah.
did not forget how this got started, man. These people want that land, boy. And so, whatever if you can sell it and someone's gonna buy it, you're gonna package it up. It could be a feeling, it could be a person. It
Yeah?
doesn't matter, man.
"What's that?" "You mean that guy over there?" "Yeah, that's Paul. Gimme." You know, it's like, "What?"
What's that? What's that? Love? Yeah, I want that too. How much?
Yeah, speaking of selling people love, man, we got we got people selling stuff that's not theirs, and it's happening with AI. And if you let the AI steal somebody's stuff, then it's I don't know, it wasn't me, dog. I just turned my computer on and looked, there was all this information. And we talked a little bit about the New York Times suing the whole New York Times lawsuit trying to sue OpenAI and walling off all of its proprietary data. A lot of other groups, Midjourney is getting attacked for stealing artist data. A lot of Midjourney and Stable Diffusion, and not just they're stealing the data, they're allowing technology. It's like, oh, well, we don't have to steal the data. You go use our technology. You go steal your own data. It's I know of some people that have configurations on their computer where it's basically just give us all your data, we'll steal it for you. That's all right. But you sent me something from Puck and Baratunde. What's going on with this?
Yeah, he's a influencer, intellectual influencer. He's been around for a minute. Very tuned person, and he had a great article up talking about what are we going to do about this, right? This AI apocalypse approaching us, where a lot of these algorithms need data to get better, to get smarter about whatever they're going to be able to do. But where's this data coming from, right? Actually, copyrighted material, a lot of cases, right? We talked about this on how artists are getting upset about their art being pushed into algorithms. And so they may not hire you as an artist, but they may hire art that look like yours. And so that's the distinction where basically you just don't get paid because they created, they don't want you, they want what you created. And so I think the New York Times is suing for the rights because they saw that some of the questions when they asked OpenAI kind of spit out verbatim that words directly from New York Times articles. And so now this they're suing them. And so now there's this big debate about, okay, look, we can't stop capitalism, right? We can't stop commerce. So these AI algorithms are going to need data, but can we put some kind of economics around what does that mean? And so
Mhm.
obviously there's a standard way of licensing, but then what do you license? Do you license all the written word? Do you license a copy of it? Is that even doable? Because there's so much data out there, some of it may not even be useful to anybody unless it's combined with something else that the AI will figure out. And then whatever and they call the term they use is not revert or anything like that. They call it regurgitate. So basically like it's throwing up words that are mixed in a mixed pod to simulate what a human would say. And so now this, what it regurgitates is it's something that makes sense and it's something that is valuable for the people who gave it the data in the first place. And so basically, if it's valuable at the end of the how they make the sausage, so does all the material, the raw material that made that sausage, is that valuable now too? And if it is, what is that price point? And that's the question. That's what this article is trying to figure out: different models of how to make that raw material that's training the AI algorithms. Do you do it in some kind of license model? But then what data is licensable, right? That makes sense. That's going to create something on the other end. Do you create like an auction style? So like say New York Times information is way more valuable. So you have all these algorithms vying for more and more valuable pieces of data for
Yeah.
those. So I would say this, and Reddit did this too. Remember we talked about Reddit. Reddit is turning up their API licensing agreements, right? They're making sure you don't get access to their that shows the data sets. And I think Twitter or X has done the same thing because they knew this was coming. Either they're going to use it themselves or someone's going to try to get access to it illegally to train their models to get smarter. So anyway, I say all that to say I think it's an interesting kind of thing to look at as a company that has a lot of data around patient care. We're being careful how we use it and making sure we keep a lot of that information because that's going to be a gold rush, man. Just access to this data is going to be so critical and people don't realize. I think people are starting to realize it. I think you know what I think what happened is we saw what the internet did. You remember when a lot of the newspapers just gave Facebook free reign to get access to their articles and stuff like that for a long time. So, oh, it's the internet. Who cares? Yeah, they can get us, but they
Mhm.
never got compensated for it. So they're still hurting from that. And then the fact that Apple created the App Store and they're getting
Mhm.
30% off of each, app developer in perpetuity. And so now we have another platform creation with these algorithms. Now people who are building on top of these platforms are getting way smarter. So hold up, before we commit and sign up for this, we need to have some kind of fair exchange of value here. And so I think that's what this is about. People have got a lot wiser about what they're giving to these platforms because they know it could be like the Roach Motel, one way in, no way out. Because now you're on the platform, you're stuck with it, or you're not going to get any money coming from it.
You know what? I just had a thought based on what you were saying. With all this, and we're gonna talk about this a little while later, but there's such a proliferation of all this stuff, and it's we're going to make it we're gonna put some guard walls up against this. We're gonna make some legislation, some laws, and intellectual property and all that. And you can't stop the crooks. That's it. There's just an old that's just an old phrase. You can't stop the crooks. So with this happening, yeah, I get it, but this is when you go to a company and you ask they're trying to get something done. A lot of times what they'll say is, "Give me something that looks like this, sounds like this, and plays out like this." And at this one company I was working for, we hired a guy, and everybody's, "Oh, this guy's the cool guy. Everybody loves him. He's awesome. He's got a badass intellectual property. He really understands things." And dude showed up, and they were, like, working with him, and he was, like, holding classes. He was like, "Yeah, you do this, and this is how you do this," and everybody's like, "Oh, okay." Man, they fired that guy. They after they got his vibe, they were like, "Okay." They fired that guy, and then about a month later, the company was putting out art like his, better than him, and it was better than his, so what's he gonna say? "That's my artist. Your art didn't look that good." So, it's just he was done.
Brutal.
So, it's just
So
confusing.
to your point, I agree, man. You can't stop the crooks. But think about this Napster. Remember Napster?
Mhm.
Remember all those whole sites that we used tons of those illegal movies and TV shows? Now they
Yeah.
still exist, but what happened? Commerce. You had Spotify, made it simple. And so now we stream music. You had Netflix come, now we stream movies and TV shows. So I think commerce always, they're always going to be criminals. They're always going to be crooks. But there needs to be some kind of commerce on top of these platforms in order to make sure, because it's almost, what's the term? What's it called? The opportunity cost. And so it's
Yeah.
probably, you can make more money just doing it the legal way than doing it illegal. Unless you just have a great idea, you just like being a crook. So you might as well do it the legal way. And so I think that's where we're at right now. To your point, I don't think we can legislate this or regulate this. It's just it's Pandora box. It's open. And now you just gotta put the money, you gotta put the money spigot on it so people can like, get paid, man. That's what you gotta
Do
do.
you I need to look this up, but do you remember in the Napster era, or right when we were leaving the Napster era and going into the post LimeWire even era and getting into
Livewire.
I I right when we were getting into iTunes and that
Ladies and
era?
gentlemen, we are old. We've been around, so we know all of these terms. Live
Yes, uh,
Friendster.
classic knowledge. But around that time, I remember, and I wanna look this up because I don't know how intentional this was on the part of media companies and the government and the media, but it seemed every other week you'd have a news story about some random kid in Poughkeepsie, Idaho, or something like this, or just some random kid somewhere, and he gets raided and all his computers taken away because he had a bunch of stolen music. And I was like, "Are they really tracking people like this? Are they really doing this?" And I didn't know how true it was, but it felt like enough of a boogeyman story to be like, "I'll just get iTunes, and I won't have to worry about that." And now it's you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it do. It does, because I remember trying to scare you. Remember, what's the guy from Metallica, Lars? He was just
Yeah.
vehemently against people taking their music, and they just trying to scare the crap out of you, right? Scare it straight, but whatever. Everybody did it. I still have some music from stuff I may or may not have. You're not gonna
It's
get
where you
me
about to
on the top. You're not gonna get me on the tap. I may or may have not have gotten by different means. But anyway, I just say that for
open up.
no, yeah, they was remember they had you're right, they had raids. They put that stuff on TV. He said, "This 13-year-old," and he was coming out in handcuffs. I thought, did you
Yeah.
remember those? They had some kids coming
Yeah.
out in handcuffs,
That's what I was
coming out their
talking about.
parents' garage looking crazy, his head down, like he stole like millions of dollars. Yeah, they were just it's tripping, tripping. So yeah, man, it's yeah, AI though, man. I think so what are your thoughts on that? You think AI is they're gonna have to create this commercial layer on top of it sooner than later. Cause it's just this legislation is suing. It's gonna be too slow.
It's so hard to make a general purpose AI layer. What are we talking about? For medical, that's obviously highly tightly controlled, but you're talking about movies. Somebody puts a movie up on a website, I'm getting that movie. That's just how it's gonna be. Some kid in Russia, some kid in China, Pakistan, wherever, Italy, they're gonna get the movie. That's just the end of it, and it's gonna be really hard to stop that. So, how do you start to monetize or try to control that type of media? I'm not sure. But as I said, there's law books, there's medical records, there's images, photography, there's people's voices and people's likeness. And we've seen the deep fakes and the audio deep fakes,
Mm.
musical styles. And I want a song that sounds like this. And it gets really hairy. And I don't think that you're going to have one general solution. I think that every industry is going to start this fight for yourself, save yourself kind of mentality about how to best guard their industry.
And yeah, I think that I would agree with that. I do see. I read somewhere also that they're using AI to combat bad AI, right? Where so the deep fakes they're using AI to figure out which is a deep fake or not, and so you're gonna have these AI battles, right?
What?
In the
Why is my
metaverse
computer?
that's
Why
gonna
is my
attack each
computer
other.
going so slow? Why is my computer? I
Oh
can't
yeah,
access Facebook.
I
Meta
was like, what
AI
is
going to
going on? They're
war.
attacking. But
Meta
speaking,
AI, yeah, Meta AI going to war against like Disney's AI, trying to lock people out, and yeah, it's going to get messy.
yeah, yeah. Speaking of which, how do you feel? I know that we didn't put this in the rundown, but it just came to my memory because you brought it up during the week. How do you feel about Zuckerberg as a new direction French Meta? I wonder if it's going to come with a new name change, but he has mentioned that he wants to change. The goal of Facebook is to create the first, what is it called? General use AI. Is that what they call it? It's not, I gotta get the term right, Mr. Benja, but you sent it to me. It's the
General
general,
intelligence.
yes, artificial general intelligence versus what we have now is generative AI, but specific for one use case, typically. What he's trying to create is basically the AI that we all know and love from science fiction that you can ask it anything and it would pretty much respond as if it was a human and even more. What do you think about Zuck having the power of God in his hands for
This
AGI?
this is a continuation of his fight with Elon Musk. Elon Musk
There
is
you go.
building his prime robot. Zuck is over here making realistic faces on in the metaverse, and they're slowly but surely filling in all these gaps. And the artificial general intelligence, basically, by the way, it's this idea that you've just got this Prime, the not Amazon Prime, but the Prime robot that is being worked on by Elon Musk and company. It's starting to get closer to that. And artificial general intelligence just it's just not this idea that something is has a general form of intellect, not a very specific, like you prompt it and then it says, what's he trying to say? Let me figure this out. Okay, based on what other people have said, let me go do this. It's more, hey, let me put this robot in front of a a puzzle and just see how long it takes it to figure out what the puzzle is and then to solve the puzzle. And the first part about figuring out what this puzzle is the interesting part of it. They had the soccer bots, which was an interesting case. You just put these two robots and a ball, and they're just like walking around being stupid. And all of a sudden, the ball goes into a goal, and one of the robots gets a point, and he's, huh? What was that? I got a point? What happened? Wait, hold on a second. And then he just goes back and rewinds the data. Eventually, he gets another point. He's, oh my God, I got 2 points. I think I know what I'm doing. I'm artificial and I have general intelligence. This is great. And it's this whole process of continuing to learn. And the interesting thing about this is that they're using it to teach not teach, but hey, here's a general problem. I need this robot to open a door. I need this robot to cook a meal. I need this robot to pick up somebody from the babysitter. You don't tell him really what to do. It's just, hey, help me out here with this. It's okay. I got you. Boom, boom, boom. Starts figuring things out. So the fact that Zuck is working on that is actually pretty big business. And I don't want to say scary just yet, although it is, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and that's something I've been noticing too. People thought all these tech layoffs were just because of the highs of the pandemic and people are the big tech companies, Google, Amazon, they're just trying to right size after all that extra hiring. But man, they're still firing folks. I have to believe that's because of AI. Google just announced more cut layoffs. The CEO Sundar announced that the company will continue to lay off folks. I think there's two things happening, but they're starting to lay off folks. And you thought YouTube was a growing enterprise for Google, right? But they laid
Mhm.
people off. Amazon announced some layoffs recently and continue to announce it. I think two things are happening. One, after they started initial cuts and they see their stock price thing go down, they were like, okay, whew, we're free now. So people are not conflating high profits, high revenue with more employees. So that means that we can cut. And then that means
Mhm.
that Wall Street is okay with that because they know we're going for more profitability. And number two, I think automation, AI is starting to take a lot of these redundant jobs away. And the first people to start using it will be the tech companies, right? And
Yeah.
so people who are doing that back office stuff. So yeah, I've been doing invoicing for 20 years here at Google. Oh, I think I'm fired. Oh, sorry. I gotta
Oh,
go. So
my key card. Eh.
and so I think a lot of redundancies are coming faster than people realize. And the first people who are going to start implementing have been these tech giants. So I just say that I think it was a story we talked about over 300 thousand jobs will be affected over the next, no, 300 million jobs will be affected over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
This is something that's going to be huge. And so we're starting to see that's why this important layer is going to be important for commercialization because people are going to be looking for jobs and pretty
Yes.
soon and maybe AI could be something they can pursue. We're going all in on it. I think I'm going all in. I have to learn more about it because this
Mhm.
is where it's going. This is where the puck is going. And I'm committing here, Mr. Benja, in the year of our Lord 2024, January 20th, that I am going all in on AI. That's a bold prediction. I know.
Nice. Let's check this out. If somebody wants an actual stat, in October, this is from Bloomberg, I believe. Yes. As of October 2022, Twitter had about 1,500 employees or contractors who reviewed content and complaints. In November 2022, when Elon Musk took over, he got rid of a bunch of people, and the content moderation tools team was limited to about 15 people. So that's from 1,500 to about 15 people. Um, I mean, that's and think about it. You're like, wait a minute, how can you have just 15 people moderating content? If you've ever typed in anything a little spicy into Facebook or Instagram now, and then it blocks your post or says or gives you a little pop-up message saying, hey, buddy, watch yourself. Or if you've been kicked off threads for a little bit, like I have, then you know that this stuff is actually happening. So I mean, if you've just got AI cranking through images saying, "Is this good? Is this bad? Is this text good? Is this bad? Don't call people an ass." Maybe he's talking about the animal. "Oh, I'm sorry. Carry on." It's yeah, you just don't need all these people.
Yeah.
People should have a place. Yeah, I'm being very loving and kind here, but I these companies are massively, massively inefficient and bloated. So now it's like you gotta turn some of that back.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think people need to realize that. That's why we're talking about it on the AI watch every week here on Show versus Business. So I'm super excited about what's coming next. Mr. Benja, man, I gotta ask you something.
Go ahead.
What do you think about our favorite internet guru, Alex Hormozi, and some of the things he is moving toward when it comes to his new role in the future of this internet media realm, and more specifically, I'm talking about his investment in Skool. What is he doing, Mr. Benja, out here in these streets? He even has a Skool add-on, the Skool type T-shirt. He has replaced the acquisition.com hat with a Skool hat, Mr. Benja. That's unheard of for this guy. So what is going
That's
on in the
crazy.
guru
That's
world,
crazy.
man, that we're not seeing here?
I don't know. The biggest muscle man in the class has gone back to school. This is crazy. They never go back to school. But here he is. So yeah, what is the play here? We mentioned this a little bit before, but we were talking about it off we were talking about it off camera, off the record here, and we brought up this idea that wait a minute, Alex Hormozi doesn't just go do things. He's an 80/20 practitioner. He's in for the focus. I need to be in on social media. How do I do that? I'm offloading just about everything else. Boom, full in on social media. And he blows up crazy. And he's okay, I'm full in on this and that. He's really a focused guy and can really start burrowing in and nailing down on something. So yeah, like you said, when he put on that school hat, it's okay, this dude doesn't know how to dabble, and he's investing real money into this thing. So,
They actually
you know
said he is co-owner of Skool. When I
oh,
watched the video, I
okay,
don't know if you saw that piece
okay.
of it. It says
I didn't
co-owners. I don't know what that means, but it sounds like it was substantial enough to say he's a co-owner.
okay. I didn't catch that part. Good little bit, because Sam Ovens is also a super focused guy. Oh my gosh, I didn't think about this. You've got 2 super focused people in there focusing on this focused product, and it's to me, I don't know about Sam Ovens directly, but I know that it seems to me like Alex Hormozi is taking his idea of building people up. He's had this idea of let me give out this information and let me get people educated and let me start finding out who's got a $5 million company, who's got a $10 million company. Let me see if I can take them to $100 million company or something of that size. So he's been giving all this what I'll call entry or small level entrepreneur, less than 10 million, right?
Yeah.
Entrepreneur and take them up into really high levels. And he wants to see if he could do that. Now that he's joined up with Skool, I'm assuming that part of his idea for doing that is taking a lot of that leverage and a lot of that energy, and it's just easier to funnel through Skool. But you had some other ideas and adding on to that a little more, like an even bigger idea. So how did you see it?
Yeah. And for those that don't know, Skool is basically this platform that anyone can create a community. Think of it as Facebook groups on steroids, right? And so it has all the bells and whistles of a Facebook group, but you can create game, you can gamify it, you can invite people, you can charge people now to access their school project. I've been dabbling around with it. With some of the stuff I do. And so I was like, okay, I can see the benefit here. Then I saw one of another internet gurus, Dan Henry, go all in on it. And then obviously another one, Ryan Pineda, went all in on it. So they have some big communities there. So when I thought about this when at first, I was thinking like you thought was like, okay, he's trying to get the best practices, see what communities blow up here, and he maybe invest in those companies. But I think there's a bigger play. I think he sees school as a platform play. And for those that don't know, platform is basically the Google, right? Basically, people build stuff on top of Google. Google just get a percentage of all that. Amazon's a platform, right? Everything
Mhm.
you buy or sell on Google, Amazon, they get a piece of that. Facebook is a platform. I think he sees communities, building communities as a future of business and just authentic connections. And I think he wants to get paid on every community that's going to be built. And that's why he invested in Skool. And numbers are bearing out. Even at I see, so I'm in Dan Henry's group and in Ryan Pineda's, two gurus. The benefit of this is that they can make so much money. These gurus are building the communities, but they don't have to do a lot of work. Think about it. We have these community managers, number one, who manage and have higher level conversations and setting up calls with the guru. But in that interim time, you have a bunch of mini gurus siphoning people into their own mini branches inside the community. So yeah, you're Rod Pineda's group, but we're Rod Pineda's group in San Bernardino, right? And we like
Yeah.
small houses, right? Or we're
Yeah.
arriving in this group, but we're in Tampa, Florida, and we like mansions. So now you your own little small guru inside the bigger community, right? And
Mhm.
guess what? Rob today gets paid on all that. And guess what?
Yeah.
Hormozi and Sam Ovens get paid on all of that. I think that's
Yeah.
what he's
Now
going for, the platform play.
and now if you're talking about a platform play, and I totally rock with you there on that. If you're talking about a platform play, what could be really interesting, and remember, Sam Evans comes from a software background, and he's all about making things easy to work with and simple. That is wonderful for creating something like, trying to think of a parallel, maybe AWS, Amazon Web Services. If you've got a community platform that does certain things underneath the hood, then maybe you could use that to say, hey, Skool is one platform, but maybe we could use that technology underneath the hood, and like a government could use it for organizing something else. It may not look like Skool exactly, but the underlying technology that all this runs on could be very similar and very interesting for the government to, hey, we're going to onboard all of our firefighters and we're going to put them in this thing. It won't look like Skool. It'll look like the Idaho, the state of Idaho firefighters, whatever, and everybody has to
Mhm.
go in and log into that. Who are they paying for that? They're paying Sam Ovens and Alex Hormozi.
Yeah,
If
a
it's the
license
underlying,
fee, right? Yeah, a license
right,
fee for access to the
running the
IP.
technology.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the reason I
Well,
said
is Amazon doing, you know what? You're right. Cause Amazon is doing that, right? They created their own underlying technology with AWS, and now they're licensing it to other folks. And so to your point, and that's a huge business for them. Now it's not their only business, but it's one of the core businesses. So I think, but I don't think that's the big play now. To your point, yes, it could be the play, but just let's focus. They're focused guys, like you say. I don't. They're building technology. They're focused now on building as many communities as they can, as fast as they can. And if you watch, I signed up just to see what he's talking about. Alex Hormozi is pitching it, and the game is they're having what they call the school games. Every month, they're pushing folks to get as many people on the platform as possible. And the top three people get to go visit Hormozi and listen from the feet of the guru, right? So, and they're gonna do this every month. Every month they're gonna do this. And so that's number one, gonna grow the platform tremendously, hugely. But more importantly, he's saying, hey, if you can get started so simply. He said, look, the hardest part of starting a business is having a way to sell it, having what you're gonna sell and how to get started. And he said, sign up, put some YouTube videos up, point them here, and you can license other people's products. And he just made it so simple that anybody can start. So he's trying to get as many just randos, for lack of a better term, just on this
yeah.
platform, so they could just build this like community, this community of communities. And so, anyway, to make your point, I think the underlying technology is important, and they probably will evaluate that. But I think that just like Amazon eventually got to AWS, but the first play was get Amazon was trying to just sell more and more stuff. They went from books to toys to just everything. And I think
Mhm.
likewise, I think community is about building more and more communities. And then to your point, the next phase of that would be the technology.
Right. Definitely. And I referenced this, but didn't exactly explicitly state it earlier on when we were talking about AI. If you're talking about community access, and if all of the information is out there and everybody's just, hey, I'm on social media, I'm over here arguing, I'm over here calling people out or whatever, suddenly the important thing becomes, can you wrangle a community together, and can you somehow, I don't want to say monetize, but can you like tokenize this community in a way that it's able to do its own thing? If I just log on to my computer and get to talk to my family in my own little thing, but then it's, I don't know what that future looks like, but it's
Mhm.
like, hey, maybe I can share music between us, and it does.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You talked about this, like just having your own private social media. You mentioned that, and that's what they're trying to create. Like this off from the major platform, but in theory, Skool will be that platform and will probably
Right.
become a major platform. So it's kind of like, are you really getting off of Facebook? And that they're probably going to pitch it as get off of Facebook and build your own private community on our platform. And
Yeah.
eventually they will become the new Facebook. So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting play. But if he makes it happen, his path to $1 billion, I think that's the key.
Yeah,
He wants to get that
interesting
billion
note.
status.
Interesting note, there are other competing platforms like Circle, Podia that are trying to do this community thing. And I think he wants to get ahead of all that too. Also, you remember how they used to say, "Hey, make sure you join the Discord or join the Telegram." Right now, people are starting to push up against the limits of that, and they're looking for a better solution. So you've got Telegram, Circle, Podia, Patreon, and
Mhm.
those platforms are slowly trying to add in all these features. And it seems to me like he's just taking the laser light focus and going, "You know what? We can beat them all to the punch with the start of this thing called Skool that Sam Ovens has." So at the very least,
Yeah, I agree.
yes. Yeah.
I agree. They're seeing the opportunity and going all in on it because Sam built it because he came from that world. Let's be honest. He was a guru himself, Sam Evans, right? He
Mhm.
had his consulting.com, did his whole mastermind stuff. He said, I'm just shutting it all down and just went deep into the software. I think he's been very intentional about how he built this software. And now
Yeah.
we're going to see. So we got the intentional software guy with the scale, simplicity scale guy, right? And just doing it
Yeah.
together. So we'll see if it can, but I wouldn't bet against them, to be honest with you. It is something to see. Mr. Benja, man, let's talk about something else, man. I got something I want to bring up to you. Speaking of scaling, man, is Mr. B scaling on X and Twitter? Or are we calling cap on this, like the young folks say?
Some people might call Mr. Beast a fern. Some people might call him an aloe vera leaf. Some people might call him a dandelion. I'm calling him a plant.
Oh
So
no, don't do
this Mr. Beast guy, we all know him. We know of his rise and great dude. He really put in the work, has the work behind him, and he's done it. He's become a huge YouTuber. But now all of a sudden he's showing up on X. So I'll just read this little bit here. Mr. Beast uploaded his first full length video directly to X in an effort to see how its revenue sharing stacks up to other platforms. It stacks up right now because it has about 200, it's gotten up to 179 million views on, I was about to say 75 million, but that was the last time we checked. Right now it's up to about 179 million views, I think. But the thing is, if you start looking around the internet, it seems like people are being fed this video a little more often than usual. And it's almost like they're gaming the system just so they could say, "Hey, look, Mr. Beast did his thing." This is totally something Elon would do. And yeah, man, I'm calling Cap.
Mr. Benja, I don't want to call my shot here, but I could recall on one of our internal messaging
Oh wait, what does this say?
earlier this week, Tuesday, I put on this, I put on here, I gotta believe that Elon is pushing the view count a little here. It's in his interest that Mr. Beast gets high views. Booyah! And that was on Tuesday before this Mashable article came out.
I called it today. Theo called it Tuesday. Theo, yes, sir. We should
What?
we should have
Anyway, we'll see.
a little banner.
Elon go
Told you,
Elon.
Theo.
Told
Theo
you.
told you.
Told ya. Elon boy, man. Elon, but Elon, man. That's all I know about Elon. But you know what, Mr. Benja? I think this is a good point to bring up. Social media influencers and stuff. I do want to ask you, do you feel the YouTube is changing? Are people looking for the anti Mr. Beast, right? This calm, low edit, personal conversation style YouTube videos. I want to get your opinion on that. I'm gravitating more to them, and I can see this happening. Like we talked about, the backlash
Yeah.
always comes to something that's great. And so the Mr. Beastification of social media, the TikTokification, quick edits, people doing this, falling down, quick, all that stuff. I think that might be moving toward a different era. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, man. It's too much, and you've heard stories of a lot of YouTubers quitting and a lot of people just getting tired of. I mean, production is actually a thing that you have to stop, practice, do, set up, pay a lot of money for equipment if you're gonna do it at the level that it seems that YouTube was requiring, that it seems like a lot of TikTok videos were requiring. The people who use CapCut and they're doing all these crazy effects and everything. It's, hey man, I just want to get on the camera and talk my noise. It almost seems like that's become a little bit of a style to just get on the camera and talk freely. And no, I definitely think it's a thing. And you sent me some you sent me some examples. This bodybuilder kid, that just makes me uncomfortable, man. He's a little too naturally unnatural.
Yeah. You know what? The thing that they don't want to say is though that these people look distinct too. Let's be honest. So
Mm,
I think it's still a visual medium. Just like I think how Alex Hormozi blew up, right? He doesn't look like your traditional business guru, right? He built the Hulk. So here comes this kid who's doing genuine videos, which is fine. A lot of edits, just see him working out. But dude, his arms is as big as some people's thighs, man. And so it's wait a minute. So yes, it's just who you are is still interesting look. And so I think the branding is there. Even with this Heinz guy, I don't know if you saw some of his stuff. Very calm, mellow. He's got the
yeah.
dreads, and he just. But it's just I think the distinctive look is important too in these type of style videos. But yeah, I'm there for it, man. I did some kind of off the wall kind of videos. They did okay for me. I'm gonna have my team repost them, see if they do better now. I did a year ago when I first started, just to play around with that style, but just off the cuff. And yeah, I'm open. That's the style that kind of resonates with me, obviously, because I go to YouTube, some entertainment, but mostly to learn stuff and listen to people that I trust. So I think that's the angle I want to go with my content. But that's probably why one of the reasons why I did want to talk about this is to see what your thoughts were as a fellow podcaster slash creator. What are your thoughts on how you create your content? Are you gravitating to that style, or you still think there's merit for the quick edits and attention grabbing style?
You're gonna have different camps and like different ways of doing things, and it's all gonna be a you're gonna have a variety. And I think that maybe YouTube's issue is that it seems like there's one way of doing things, or it just seems like there's a big overriding, oh, everybody's doing it this way, or everybody's doing it this way. Why? Because that's what YouTube is promoting. That's what YouTube is pushing to the front. And it's I'm hopping around and I'm starting to see more people that are like, "Oh, here's the calm style. Maybe I like the calm style." And while I'm watching the calm style, all of a sudden there's this big bombastic quick cut guy who gets thrown in my feed, and I'm like, "How did this happen?" And I don't think they have a good enough delineation between styles. And is there another platform that could come up and take on YouTube in that respect? And no. So what is YouTube to do, or what are the people to do? I don't know exactly how that plays out. I just have no idea. Facebook video didn't play out. Instagram TV really didn't play out. None of these ideas really played out. So it seems like we're just getting the YouTubeification of everything, and whatever YouTube is at the moment, that's what it is.
Yeah. It's been around a long time. Even the video piece of it, the YouTube piece, TikTok is fairly new, but even they are getting into the long form video. And
Yeah.
so it's gonna be interesting to see where this all goes.
Real quick, actually, Twitch has its own little style too.
That's
I
the
will say
point. Yeah.
people sit in the hot tubs playing video games.
Yeah. Not about that. Oh, Mr. Benjamin, you bring up the good stuff, man. No, but you know what? You're right. So it's like YouTube is like the granddaddy, right? Started it all. No one knew what it was, how to use it. Then you had these folks come around like Vine and then TikTok, right? And so YouTube had to pivot to like shorts, right? To get
Mhm.
people interested. And then Twitch, like this whole they're basically doing reaction videos, right? They're doing a lot of reacting to what they see on the screen. And so of course YouTube had to follow that. So to your point, I think YouTube is a quick follower when it comes to a lot of this stuff. And but Twitch, TikTok have found their own, and I guess somewhat Instagram, right? They kind of started to find their own niches. But I'd be curious to see how this all gonna play out long term. This is gonna draw ultimately it's about drawing attention, Mr. Benja. And so sometimes the best way to get attention is to be the opposite of where everyone else is. And so I think that's and it's up to your point, I think it's always gonna be a battle, right? Then everybody's gonna start going toward the calmer videos. And next thing you know, someone's gonna stand out and blow up a Prius, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh wow. It gets a
Oh my
billion
god.
views. Who would have thought? Real quick, did you see this phenomenon about the Stanley Cup? Did you hear about that?
I know about the Stanley Cups and people sitting outside Target to get their red Stanley Cup and all that.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Off of YouTube and videos and these mommy bloggers. Maybe we'll do a deep dive next time. But that they went from 75 million in less than 3 years, make over 750 million in revenue based on influencers and marketing. So I don't know, man. This is a weird world we live in right now. Before we end, Mr. Benja, you got a rant or anything you want to get off your
I don't
chest?
I don't care about the Emmys, but I heard you watched it. Any thoughts on that? Any rants? Rant. Go, go.
Man, I don't have too many rants. All I know is that TV dogs. No one's watching the Emmys. I was watching, even I don't watch it. I was watching the Tampa Bay Bucks beat up on Philadelphia Eagles. And so 7 million people watched it. That is by far the lowest numbers ever had. And they're trying to promote these shows that not people watch. Yes, I love Succession, which one. I love Beef, which one. I love The Bear, which I put you on, which one. But Mr. Benton, no one cares. We need to get better shows that people like to watch and be interested in. And I think we just don't have the monolithic culture anymore. So I don't know, TV's dying out. It used to be exciting. It's not as exciting anymore when you know who the winners are going to be. That's all I got, Mr. Benja, for the rant. Ding, ding, ding.
Hey,
Ask them.
that's right. They ain't got 11 million views per
Oh,
episode
man.
like Joe Rogan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they can't. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe and comment at Show versus Business on X, YouTube, and Instagram. Listen to us at Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Go check us out on our website, Show versus Business. And go check us out next time. Mr. Benja, have a great one.
Peace.